Hello friends, my name is Mohammad Rizwan Qadri. In this audio lecture, we will discuss about the Indian polity. Today it is first lecture. Now we will discuss about parliamentary democracy. The Constitution of India adopts parliamentary system of democracy in word to represent the pluralist tradition and interests of the country. In the parliamentary form, elected members of legislative assembly provide the executive. That is the council of ministers who make up the political executive are necessary drawn from legislature in order to enforce the highest form of popular accountability. The council of ministers is collectively responsible to the legislature. Council of ministers enjoys power till they have support of the popular house. The popular house in the sense upper house, which we called Rajya Sabha. Council of Ministers enjoys power till they have support of the Lok Sabha of India. There are many devices in the constitution and various statutes and rules which the parliament holds the executive answerable. As a last resort, no confidence motion is provided to vote out the council of ministers and either replace it with another party or coalition or have a general election to the Lok Sabha. Parliament has enormous power to make laws and amend the constitution. But unlike in Britain, where the parliament can make any laws, in India, parliamentary power is limited by the following. Federalism gives some powers of legislation to union and some to the states. Judicial review is another limitation. Basic features. Doctrine is one more limitation. The prelude of the Indian Constitution is the most limitation of the parliament and the important boundary for the parliament of India. Federalism in India. Federal polity with a unitary tilt. The constitution contains all the basic features of a federation as shown. First, sets up a dual polity. There are dual polity system in India, the union government and the state governments. Legislative, administrative and financial powers are divided between the two levels of government. All legislative powers are classified into three lists: the union list, the state list and the concurrent list. Subjects of national importance like banking, national security, currency, defense, railways, post and telegraph, foreign affairs, citizenship, etc. have been given to the Union Parliament, the central government, being placed in the Union list. And another hand, items of provincial and regional importance like police, local self-government, agriculture, law and order, health and entertainment have been given to the states, being a part of the state list. Neither can legislate on the others list. However, under rare and special circumstances, Union Parliament can legislate on items in the state list. But concurrent list has subjects which are of common interest such as socio-economic planning, marriage and divorce, adoption, succession, forest, transfer of property, preventive, detention, education, civil and criminal laws, etc. The Union Parliament and the state legislatures enjoy co-equal powers to make laws in regard to the. However, if there is a conflict between a union law and a state law, the law made by the Union Parliament would prevail over the state law, according to the doctrine of federal supremacy. And the next one, each level of government being provided with its own sources of revenue. Next, supremacy of the written constitution. Next, rigid constitution. Indian constitution, you can't say it only rigid or only flexible. It is a mixture of rigidity and flexibility. So the next is independent judiciary to settle disputes among the federal units. Supreme Court under Article 131 has exclusive and original jurisdiction in federal matters. While presenting the essential features of federalism, there is a strong unitary tilt. For example, states are not indestructible. As in the USA, Union Parliament cannot only alter the area and boundaries of a state but can also abolish a state. The Parliament has the residuary powers, that is, powers that may be left out of the three lists detailed later. Emergency powers, Article 352 and 356 of the Union government also turn the country into a unitary system. Since 1992, with the making of the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts related to Panchayati Raj and Nagarpalika institutions respectively, Indian Constitution has added another tier to the federal system. However, powers and finances of the panchayatas are still left to the discretion of the state governments. The mixture of rigidity and flexibility. An amendment to the Constitution may become necessary for any reason, like national security, social progress, national integration, and so on. The method to amend the Constitution is rigid in a federal polity. There is a special and elaborate method is prescribed involving both the union and the states. A flexible constitution is one that can be amended like an ordinary law. States are not involved. Indian constitution is rigid as far as amendment to the federal features are concerned. It is flexible for all other features, that is, a special majority in the parliament is enough for the amendment bill to be passed. So Jawaharlal Nehru, while justifying this nature of the constitution, said, "Our constitution is to be as solid and permanent as we can make it. Yet there is no permanency in a constitution. There should be a certain amount of flexibility. If you make anything rigid and permanent, you stop the nation's growth, the growth of a living, vital, organic people." 97 amendments have been made so far 2012.